Rizal saw his mother going blind, saw the world growing dim and close around her, saw the doctor's shrugs as her future fell into darkness, saw the fingers of a dawnless night wrapping around her neck. Rizal saw all this and made a free man's choice to drop out of law and take up medicine instead, to immerse himself day and night in the diseases of the eye, to bring the knowledge to his hand and to his land. And Rizal the doctor was born, and his mother's sight was born again. Jose Rizal saw his country bleeding in shadow, saw her pointing to her gaping wounds, stunned and slow, saw her trying in vain to put her pain to words, saw a world that couldn't hear her cries. Rizal saw all this and made a free man's choice to live in 8 different countries and learn 22 languages, to win men and women to him and then talk to them of freedoms withheld, to put words to her wounds and hurl them at the world. And Rizal the scholar was born, and the world saw his people in a new light. Freedom glinting like a shard of glass under rushing waters. Saw a future not clear, not merely whole, but his. Saw how beautiful a thing the broken can be. Saw beauty bubble up like a blister and called it hope. Rizal saw all this and made a free man's choice to write 2 stories that screamed like a slashed child for justice, to wrench away the cloaks and pull the devil inside into the light, to render his name a symbol for dissent. And Rizal the revolutionary was born, and his people felt the sun on their flesh for the first fleeting time. Rizal saw a fledgling people, eyeless, tongueless, but winged. Saw his people on one side of a wall and on the other, freedom. Saw that freedom is only a word until you seize it. Saw that the sun only rises when the horizon first turns from rust to blood. Rizal saw all this and made a free man's choice to let himself be chained and charged with crimes he didn't commit, to break down the wall to revolution by facing a line of rifle fire, to buy with his life a people's eyes to see their rage, a people's tongues to call for a new day. And resolve the martyr was born. And as his body crumpled to the ground, his people took wing and flew to the sun like rushing wind and called their land, their land. They say nothing is more thirsty than a sword with a grinning god behind it. I know this at least. Some gods spread like a dark honey, others like a pale disease. And thus it was that we came to know the first of the jealous gods. And he vaulted over our bamboo walls, and he rose in the sunlight audacious and tall, and he called himself God of the Moro, God of the Moors. And the way honey pours in a slow, slow drip, we were pinned to the floor in his unyielding grip, and his heavy chest heaved against our heavy chest, and we softened with time to the weight of his paws, and he stifled our fears and relaxed in his jaws, and he sniffed at our necks and retracted his claws, and we let ourselves slip into his ways over years. We let ourselves live by his laws. Until one day the sea split open again, and onto our sands there came to land the second of the jealous gods, far more ferocious than the first, with a zealous thirst and a flaming rapier in his hand, and 1,000 prophets at his command, and his name was Jos, God of the Spaniards, God of the cross, God of a love that's born in loss. And the Spanish god Jos, all aglow in gold, rolled over our land in a tidal flood of fervent joy and flowing blood. And he walked us to the edge of a cavernous well, and he gestured inside, and he showed us his hell. And in the swell of his western heat, he lifted a crossbow and primed it back and pressed it neat against our chest, and a splendid smile spread across his face. And in a show of his infinite grace, he gave us the chance to change our dance. We lifted our hands, and we bent our knees, and we strapped his cross across our backs. And in this new heat of his heaven and hell, we worshipped him, and we worshipped well. Now, when you live in fire, you get used to the flame, and what starts in pain as a blinding burn over centuries turns into a softened glow. And so it was that as time swept by, we crept into love for this jealous Jos, and his golden fist unclenched touched the sword in his hand, caressed us, and out from it poured a score of lesser gods that slid and glistened in silken droves, whom we swallowed down and whose names we wove into the vast expanse of our careful dance. The mother god Maria, benevolent, soft, and mute, and with her the gods of silence, gods of the unspoken, gods of chastity, gods of the unbroken, purity gods and shame gods, and gods of lovers unpursued, and gods of covered flesh. The child god, Niño, the god of innocence, and with him all the gods untarnished, saint gods and martyr gods and priest gods and prior gods and friar gods, who communed with the unknowable god Bible. The god of sweet exhaustion, the god of untold sin, the god of perfection and his twin, the god of guilt. The stingy god of literacy, the bulbous god of social class, the gods of property and the deed of sale, the gods of whiteness and the western male. Gun gods and steel gods and whip gods and field gods, and for 400 years we worshiped these gods, and over the years they seared themselves onto us like etchings on a sun-baked bone. And over the years we made them our own, because those who know gods know the simple truth. Give it enough time to breathe, to aspire, and fire will take anything and turn it to fire. And thus it was that as time swept by and newer worlds shifted in their sleep, and newer world waves poured onto our shores, we turned and shook our molten wings and bared our throats and opened our chests to more and more gods of more and more things. The eagle gods whose wings beat softly against our faces. Jesus the man, blue-eyed and gracious, who held out gifts to us in his punctured hands. In his left, the Bible the infant Niño had withheld. In his right, the eyes to read it. Jesus of the boyish grin, Jesus of the lamb-like skin, with chocolate in his pocket and a rifle at his side. He called us little brother, and we called him Joe, and he rustled our hair, and we beamed with pride. And with him came the great goddess, manifest destiny, with gleaming wings and a mouth that poured promises into our lungs. Promises of legacy, promises of fame, the promise that life is a winnable game, that the world can be ours if we stake our claim. Manifest destiny, in whose name we dispatch armies across the waves to distant lands, a bold and brave diaspora of prophets scanning the earth for her promises and bringing our gods and our hearts with them as they go. And as these gods rode into our lands, we turned them over in our trembling hands and clutched them close to our heavy chests, and we worshiped them alongside the rest. Coca-Cola gods, and Kodak gods, and Frigidaire gods, and Gone with the Wind gods, Sinatra gods, and Jimmy Dean gods, and Grand gods, and Monroe gods, who showed us prophecies that glimmered icy and green, glimpses of a paradise we'd never seen. They showed us a beauty wind-blown and tough, a beauty we might see if we worshipped enough. And we bowed in the light of each glorious face, and we learned their names with fear and grace, just like all the gods that had come before, and all the gods that will come for 1,000 years more. Gods of the earth and gods of the sky, gods of the trees and the breeze and the seas, gods we can touch and gods we can't, gods who whisper, gods who rant, gods who rush in, gods who wait, gods who love or love to hate, gods of the east and gods of the west intertwine inside our breast, and we weave them into our careful dance, and we light them like stars in a great expanse, because fire is fire and it burns the same wherever it comes from, whatever its name. The fires of Joseph, his love of his hell, like the same as the flames in a volcano shell, and we're children of fire, so it's fire that we give because we breathe to survive, but we worship to live.
ladies and gentlemen, Nico Maka.
Itaguyod ang matawad, ang bandila ng iyong kultura. Sa pagkayod ni Asenso, habang natatawa, habang naluluha. Say, raise the flag of your culture high. Success comes with work, whether you laugh, whether you cry. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Maging sino ka man, iisa ang katotohanan. There is but one truth. Itaguyo ang matawad, mandilan yung kultura. Sa pagkayo, may asenso, habang natatawa o naluluha. Alam mo na, maging sino ka man, iisa ang katotohanan. Kung sa kanto, kung sa kalye, mag-tricycle, mag-petting ka. Bumara ka ng taxi, puno daw ang MRT. Nga paglakad, basta sakto'y makarating. Lumingon sa pinanggalingan, aabot ka sa pinaroroonan. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Manila, Manila, eto bumahong ka. Say Manila! Manila, 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 Manila. I know you wanna get down with Manila. Manila, Manila. Pilipinas kung minumot ka. Manila, Manila. Jeep sa kanto, sa kalye, mag-tricycle. Pwede ka, okay lang yan, kapatid. Bumara ka ng taxi, oh, puno daw ang MRT. Kahit ka maglakad, basta tapo'y makarating. Lumingon sa pinanggalingan, aabot ka sa pinaroroonan. Narinig say, say Manila, Manila, eto bumahong. Let me hear Manila, 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 Manila. I know you wanna get down over in the back. Manila, Manila. Dahil ako isang anak ng Texi. Manila, Manila. Hey! Vamos lá, quero ver, quero ver. What? What? Tato din. Manila, Manila. Listen.